Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff Mom Never Told You, production of iHeartRadio. And today it is November 1st, 2024. Here in the U.S., we are bearing down on Election Day, which is November 5th, 2024. So we're doing an episode on election anxiety that is very similar to our past episode we did on election stress disorder. So if you want to check that out, but this is coming out the day before the election. So content warning. I get it if you don't want to hear about it. I have realized, and Samantha saw it in action, I don't like being sprung upon questions about the election.
I think I just asked
what I was going to do that day.
What you were planning to do. And I was like, oh.
It's like bad. It's really bad.
It's not funny. It was funny now, but I was like, oh. I was just asking what you're doing that day.
Okay. It's really bad. I'm going to talk about it a little at the end, but it's not good. Also, but it's not the first time it happened. But my friend Marissa, who's been on the show, good friend of the show, she brought up something with the election while we were on vacation. And I was like, no, we're not talking about it. I'm sorry. I will leave the room. That's not happening.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but I am not alone. So every year, the American Psychological Association, or the APA, conducts and reports on a survey of the stressors in the United States. And this year, there were the usual suspects: family, money, job. But one thing was looming over all of them, and it was the 2024 U.S. presidential election, politics in general. Of those surveyed, 7 out of 10 reported politics in the election being a significant source of stress. This finding was statistically significant across all parties. From 70 to 80% of respondents, depending on the party. Many reported worries of violence after the election, no matter the outcome. 56% believe the election could be the end of democracy in the country. There have also already been threats of violence, so it makes sense people have these fears. The study also found about half of the 3,000 respondents didn't trust the system of checks and balances. About 40% have considered moving to a different country. About 45% have said they would not date someone with opposing political beliefs.
Just 45%?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Yeah. Well, who knows, who is actually interested in dating? I don't know how they specifically phrased that question, but, or maybe they're open to the idea, but probably won't. I think there's a lot of ways that could play out. And a whopping 82% were worried that people were basing their decisions and values on misinformation or disinformation. So you can see our past episodes, many of them we've done with Bridget, for more information about that. And yes, several experts said that social media is exacerbating all of this. And we are inundated with text and emails and ads. It's worse in swing states. I watch a lot of YouTube, and I've seen them all. I
haven't seen any ads outside of TikTok. So I can easily swipe away from them. I have seen TikTok in itself saying that they are a trusted source for election information.
Ooh.
Which was really interesting to me. I was like, bro, what? Also, what's really funny, with the amount of TikToks that are being used by political people / candidates, and the fact that they're shutting down TikTok supposedly in January. I'm confused. But hey, it is what it is on that level. Did you also see, speaking of misinformation, disinformation, that Facebook is being sued? I think because they had gotten millions of dollars from misinformation ads from political campaigns, and they have used them and they have posted them without any qualms. And everybody's like, okay.
Well, it's also, there's, we talked about this before, we were worried about this, but there's been a lot of AI generated videos that are just fake. And some of our politicians, some here in Georgia, have already had to come out and say, no, that's not real. That's just not real. So yeah, it's stressing people out. And Yes, it is impacting women and young people more. 63% of women versus 58% of men reported a negative mental impact due to the election. And one of my favorite quotes came from psychiatrist.com, and it was talking about the people who are kind of not worried about it. More than a quarter of them, 27%, felt optimistic about the upcoming election, while 22% of them said they were excited. Men in particular appeared to be the most hopeful. I love it.
Good on you, bro.
I laughed out loud when I read this. Yeah, sure.
Because no matter what, nothing changes for them. Even if it is like a Democratic presidency, nothing changes for men.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's interesting into that level. Like, they don't have, this is a game.
Yeah.
Of like winning or losing. Versus us being like, oh no, this is going to be awful. And we're going to go backtrack in so many ways that people are going to die. More people are going to die. And it's going to be mainly women and marginalized people. Anyway, happy election day.
I know. I was thinking about it because I was so bummed. I remember the first time I voted and I was so excited. It was Obama.
I was a George Bush. George W. That was my election. That was in my Republican era. I hate to say it. I apologize, y'all.
It's okay. You've changed.
I did.
That's
vote
more
for
than
Obama.
A lot of people can say.
I did vote for Obama. I was very excited about Obama.
We've also mentioned there have been reports of women not telling the usually man that they're with who they're voting for. So that's something else we've been seeing. Actually, a lot more young people than I thought. It was impacting young people the most. Although I think for that specific statistic, it was young people in their lives. The ads have been very, very gendered. As I said, I've seen them. You've got your like bros, be a man, vote for Kamala, like all kinds of really gendered ads that are happening. But it is having an impact on us physically and mentally. 60% of respondents in a separate study reported that the election had really done damage to their mental health. Half of that reported feeling fear, emotional eating, lack of sleep, alcohol, or substance abuse were all things that people reported experiencing. Stress, we've done so many episodes about this, but stress does wreak havoc on your body. And then a lot of people were reporting feeling like fight, flight, or freeze at this time. Which leads us to the next point. A lot of us are struggling to focus in all aspects of our lives because of the election. Experts say that this is for several reasons, but one is that it is a huge decision. A lot of us do care about it. It can inspire a helpless feeling too, because things have become so polarized and so much of what is on the line feels intensely personal and unsafe. Just if you've ever had this big decision, but there's so much out of control when it comes to making it, it's sort of that, but magnified. According to Stephen Stosny, who coined election stress disorder, which he later renamed headline stress disorder, said about this, when we're focused on things we can't control or influence, we feel powerless and anxious. Anxiety is a general central nervous system response, not specific to what triggers it. It makes us perceive threats everywhere. He also went on to say that we can really feed into these emotions when we're around each other. So not just with people who disagree with you, but with people who agree with you, you can really work each other up. Gen Z and millennials are the most impacted. It did kind of bother me when I was looking into this about how many of the sources were like, here's how you make your employees more productive during this time. And then future planning. Many Americans are putting off or changing travel plans because of the election. Delta Airlines CEO said, people like to be home during the election period. They don't want to be out traveling. I don't think they want to be spending money until they understand what's going to happen. According to NBC News, quote, 64% of U.S. adults said they would avoid traveling in the U.S. out of concerns about unrest, depending on who wins, according to a recent poll by the travel site Vacationer. About a quarter said they'd stay home only if Vice President Kamala Harris is elected, while just 16% said they would hold off if former President Donald Trump wins. Some have also just reported being unable to travel with family members. from opposing sides of the political spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going back and forth because my family's doing a thing this weekend, and I had already planned to go home the day before to see my parents, and now I'm going back and forth about going to see them now because I don't want to see my entire family who are Trump supporters. A couple of them are Trump supporters. At first, I thought they were just like Republican supporters and willing to, vote for whomever, which we know those have come about, which are not great, but at least they're not Trump supporters. I have a couple of family members who changed their profile to the assassination attempt to Trump, and I was like, oh, literally, like that's the expression that I get because I was like, you're smarter than this.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you idealizing this man? You, Mr. I am Christian to the core and want to be Christian, singing gospel music all the time, are putting Trump as a god who gives no shit about your God. Anyway, all of that to say is I am struggling about whether or not I want to go home to see the entire family, especially right before the election. And I'm really freaking out because I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to see them. It's going to cause a rift. And it's going to be a not fun trip. I also feel bad because I know my niece, at least one niece who leans left as well, she is going. And they bring it up with her often, which is odd to me because they would never bring it up with me. And I think it has everything to do with like the respect and understanding that she holds her own. Don't get me wrong. And she is more like out for all the things that she is than I am. I seem old fashioned compared to her, but they seem to constantly want to bring it up with her as if I guess they're still trying to change her mind, as where I'm like, yeah, we will have an out battle. Like all out battle. And I will also stop coming home. I will protect my peace anyway. That means staying away from y'all. And I think that's part of the reason they don't bring it up with me. But I still feel bad for her and I feel like I need to be there to be an ally with her.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm like, but I got to protect my peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot.
That's a tough one. I know I've told this story before. I'm not going to get into it now, but it's interesting in my family because my immediate family are all liberal. And yet I still don't want to talk about the election with them.
Right.
Because to them, what do I know? What the do I know?
It's funny because you're probably the most researched of all of them.
It really, and I just there's so many things I haven't dealt with because we are not a good family when it comes to addressing our issues with each other.
Girl,
So
you
it's
haven't talked about the trauma that's happened in your life to the point that I'm like, how do y'all communicate? And I say this as I don't talk to my parents too much, but at the very least, we've gotten to the point that yes, we need therapy for these things.
My mom and I are good.
Your mom and you have done really well. The rest of them, although she still doesn't know everything, maybe now more because of the book, but
yeah.
But anyway.
I'm good with her.
Y'all are the quintessential WASPs to me, but in the country, in the South.
Not really religious, but yeah.
A little bit religious, but more of very intellectual, and we don't talk about feelings. Everything's
until we scream at each other, and then we never talk about it again. But it did leave a mark, and we had a huge fight after the 2016 election. So I don't want to talk about it with him. And I was reading something. We all did, but I had a really bad reaction to the 2016 election. And so I feel like it's coming back. And a lot of us haven't recovered from it. And I was reading an article about how this election is just bringing up all of that stuff. But I feel frozen. I feel like I can't make any decisions. I don't want to make decisions. Feels like my world is going to end. So on Monday, I'm planning on calling my mom. It's the last time I might ever speak to her. This is so much stress.
Yeah.
So for anyone out there feeling it, I'm with you. And, we say make a voting plan, go vote. Make a election day plan.
Yeah.
Election week plan.
You have to ease into it, though.
You have to ease into it. Oh my gosh. Oh, there are a lot of tips on how to manage the stress, but I don't think, I mean, none of them are surprising. It's like, yeah, I know that. Like, go outside. Don't engage too much on social media if it's stressing you out. Take a step away from politics if it's stressing you out. Maybe meditate or do something meditative. It's just kind of the normal stuff. But it also contribute or volunteer to a cause you care about that might make you feel like you have more control or something.
I think it's interesting, like, there's a thing, you know, in general, the conversation about hope core, about trying to see hopeful things, whether it's like a good story of the day, a feel-good story of the day, or seeing like puppies, or I love a good puppy, and Halloween costumes and puppies are amazing. For Anney to be able to cry her heart out, and she loves to do anything that makes her bawl and cry out, such as The Last of Us 2. I'm sure are you going to watch like some of the Last of Us
show?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to think. I haven't planned it.
You haven't planned it yet?
Because sometimes that will put me in a darker place. I do love doing that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of people don't. I can't do that, but I'm like, you might enjoy this.
I love doing that, like on a not day where I think the world might end. But I don't know about that specific day. I might need a break. Yeah. I don't know.
I think there's a lot of like conversations about people trying to do hope core things, trying to get out. There's been a lot of scary stuff. I'm unfortunately, I don't listen to much of the updates. People are doing predictions, going back and forth because it's making me crazy. Watching the numbers, don't look at that. Like, I know that 8 million voters have already put in their votes in the state of Georgia, which is amazing. I also know that Cobb County is going through a thing right now where people have been purged or haven't gotten their absentee ballots yet. A lot of people. And we know Cobb County, as much as Georgia is a swing state, Cobb County is a swing county. So it's a huge, and that's one of the redistricting that had happened previously, not too long ago, in order to try to gerrymander that area. I love how I'm using these terms as if they're adverbs. Anyway, all these things, and I think there's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, being able to take a step aside if you can, it's hard. It's hard because there's so much on the line. I think the one thing we have to remember, even though I don't like remembering going back to the 2016 election, and everybody's like, what the f***? And I cried and everybody else cried. Literally, that was the year that I lived below in the basement of a gay dude. Very nice. And he started screaming. Like in anger and like in terror. Rightly so. I was there too, but I do mine. Like, my reactions are all quiet. Mm-hmm. I'm very stoic. Like, I don't know, because I'm the freeze person for sure, that I just sit and stare. Like, you'll see me shut down, but the shutdown just looks like nonchalance and ease, because I don't react immediately. But like, we know those moments. But I also remember immediately after how people rallied together, and that as things can be bad. Yes, we know that. And it's not ideal. The amount of people that come out together and united is also amazing to see. Like, the amount of power that Black women had for the state of Georgia immediately after that election was amazing to see. As political and sideways as the Women's March did get after the fact, the initial was beautiful. It was beautiful to see. So we have to remember that we're not out. Whatever happens, we're not out. Whatever happens, there's a bigger fight to go. Even if we do get the better results, there's still going to be a fight. Mm-hmm. There's still going to be a fight, and that's never ending. But there's so many people who do fight, and the people who do fight are amazing people. And out of like the ashes come the beauty, you know, like all of the darkness, there does come amazing things. And that's the part we have to remember, is like, we've been down this road. It's gross. And this one is a little more threatening, I guess is the best way to put it. It feels more threatening because we know there's a bigger plan, and he has gotten the lay of the land and trying to figure it out his way. But also we know there's enough people that also are fighters. And that's what we have to remember too.
And again, shout out to all of the people who are volunteering, who are making this happen, a lot of them Black women, like, who have been doing this work, have been on the ground, not getting their due as they should, but doing it because they care about it. Like, without them, there's so many things, like the smooth election days we had that we talked about.
The amazing people who were there.
Yeah. And
even with the biggest threat, that dude with the freaking machete, he was immediately arrested. So that's the good news. Like, they got the repercussions pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it's good to see, like, they didn't just get away with it.
Yeah. That is, I mean, it's sad that
the stupidity. And what's so funny is, like, 5 years down the road, I think he's going to be really embarrassed, if not already.
I think so.
He's going to have so many things to come back and be like, I was dumb. And this is everything to do with the rhetoric of social media and his people. But all of that to say is we did see immediate consequences at the very least, and people are not going to let that lie. Like, that's as many bad things have happened. Like, I don't know how to phrase it, because it's just one of those things where everything has to be done with an even kill, like, in just being able to hold on rationally, but hold on to hope and stuff like that. You're like, damn it, of course. But then, like, oh, good, he got arrested.
Yeah. I mean, again, go see our past episodes we've done with Bridget. But I do think a part of this, too, is that it feels like everything feels ridiculous. Like, everything, it feels like a fever dream. Legitimately, you're like, wait, this is a news item?
Right.
And that can just wear you down. That can really, really wear you down.
Right.
But yeah, don't let it wear you down so much that you don't participate, or if you lose hope, don't let it wear you down that much. But also, it's okay if you are stressed and to recognize that and know that you are not alone. We're not alone. And we love you, listeners, and we appreciate you so much. So we would love to hear from you if you're doing any of these things. If this is your first time voting, any of that, you can email us at stuffmediamomstuff@iheartmedia.com. You can find us on Twitter at momstuffpodcast, or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff I Never Told You. We're also on TeePublic. We have a store there, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.